Hi everyone, so I'm going to do a short video on colour theory. So what we're going to start off doing is looking at doing the colour wheel. Now I know you've all got a colour wheel and you can either print one off or buy one off the internet, but sometimes, especially now, it's quite tricky to get our mind into doing something creative. So doing something like this is a good way of us starting off, just getting the paints out and just having a go, yeah? So sometimes I do it, this kind of stuff quite a lot. It's if I'm coming to the studio and I don't feel very inspired, then I'll just start off looking at colours, doing a bit of mixing, and then slowly, hopefully, turn on the creative side of my brain. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to do it here, this side, but you don't have to. You can do it whatever size you like. I'm going to use acrylics. If you haven't got acrylics but you've got some watercolours, absolutely fine. Okay, you can still do it with the watercolours. Yep, like I said, I'm going to use acrylics. So this is my palette. Oh, with the colour wheel, if you want to, this is going to be a 12 section colour wheel. So what I've done here with this one is you can cut out a little bit of paper if you want to, fold it in half and then fold it in thirds and then half again, and then you'll get 12 sections out of that one. Okay, so I'm going to use acrylics, and this is my palette, and I've got yellow, red, blue, the primary colours. Now I've got primary red, primary yellow and primary blue, but you can use whatever you've got hold of. So you can have, if you've got cadmium red, cadmium yellow, that's usually the kind of colours, ultramarine blue, that's usually the kind of colours we use. If you've got a vermilion or a lemon or a cobalt blue, that's absolutely fine. Whatever you've got is what we're going to use, because it's about producing a colour wheel and producing colourways out of the paints we've got. Okay, we're not producing it from a book. It doesn't have to be precise in what the theory says. It's about what we've got and what we can do with it. So we've got our primaries and then we've got some white. Okay, so like I said, I've got a 12 section colour wheel, but with our colour theory, yeah, it can go on for you know, indefinitely. We're just going to do a 12 section one. Okay, so we're going to start off painting it in. So I've got some water brushes, so let's just start off, yeah? So let's start off with a bit of blue. So a bit of water on my brush, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paint in one of these sections here. You don't have to keep within the lines, it doesn't have to be too neat either, just paint it in. So that's just straight out tube blue. And then what I'm going to do as well is I'm just going to make myself a little block over here of that blue. Okay. Right, now let's do another one. Let's get some red. Again, a little bit of water on my brush. And what I'm going to do is leave 3 spaces, 1, 2, 3, and then paint that one in. And then what I'm going to do, again, is just give myself a little square there. With the red one, yeah? Now, next one, some yellow. Again, a little bit of water on my brush. And then I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, and then paint, and then do the wrong one there, and then paint that in. So, and then again, another block over here. So then we've got our primary colours. So once we've got our primary colours, what we've got to do then is mix our secondary colours. And the secondary colours are the colours we get when we mix our primaries together. So let's try. So I've got my palette. I've also got my tile, that's what I'm going to be mixing on now. So what I'm going to do is to find the secondary colour. I'm going to do some blue, and then I'm going to mix that with some red. Mix that together. And mixing it on the tile is really good because you get a nice flat. You could use a palette knife as well if you wanted to. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint that in there. And then what I'm going to do with that purple then is put myself some here, underneath that yellow. Okay, I'm going to wash my brush. So the next one is we're going to mix this red and that yellow. So again, I'm going to put some yellow on my tile, and then I'm going to mix some red in it. So I'm always mixing away from that, so I've always got my true colours to mix from. So now I'm going to paint that in. It's a nice orange, isn't it? A little bit of water on the brush. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that orange underneath the blue. Okay. Let's do the other one. See, that's where you need your pinny, so you can clean your brush off. So again, we've got our blue, so we're going to put a little bit of blue, and then we're going to have some yellow. 50-50, so whatever you mix, that's nice. Like that with it. And as you can guess, I'm going to put the green now underneath the red. So what we've got now is we've got our primary colours and we've got our secondary colours, yeah? And so what I've got is, I've got my secondary colours mixed into there as well. So now we need to do these other colours, and what we call those other colours are tertiary colours. And how we get them is to mix now our primary and our secondary colour together. Okay, so now I need to take some of that purple, yep, add more blue into it, and paint that bit in there. Okay, so it's tertiary colour there, and then to get this one we need to use the purple again and add a bit more red to it. So that's why again I'm going to take a bit from there and make another colour with it with a bit of red. And paint that in there. Okay, then to get this colour I'm going to mix the red and the orange. So again, we're going to get a little bit of that orange and add a little bit of red into it. Paint that in there. Okay, and then the next one is to get this orange with more yellow in. So we're going to go back to our palette that we've mixed, get a little bit more of that orange and add some yellow into that. Paint that in. Okay, next one. So to get this colour, I'm going to take some of that green up, make another little pot with it and add some yellow into that one. Paint that in. Okay, now to get this one, what we need to do is take some more green, make another little spot, add some blue into it. Now, as with any kind of colour mixing, the hardest thing to do is to mix enough paint. But that just comes with the more we do. And then we'll paint that in. Okay, so what we now have is our 12 section colour wheel. So we've now got our primary colours, our secondary colours and our tertiary colours. Now the reason this is important is we've got the primary and the secondary, because they appear opposite each other on the colour wheel, they become our complementary colours, yeah? So those two are our complementary colours and so are those two as well, yeah? Whatever appear opposite, they're our complementary colours. We can use them in any which way we like. And the way we're going to use these ones, our complementaries here, is to make what we call a grey out of it, whether it's a colour grey or a tonal grey. So what we need to do with that one is, get my brush. So what we're going to do, we're going to get the blue, so it's straight out the tube blue, and then we're going to mix that with some orange. Let's mix some orange in that, so we get a really dark colour then, because I've not mixed too much into it just yet. And we're going to mix some white. You give it a good mix around, because sometimes when you're mixing with your brush, it's hard to get all the paint off, and sometimes you're mixing away and then before you know it you've got another extra little bit of colour in there that you didn't want in. Right, so just give it a good mix around, a bit more white. There we go. And then what you're going to get is you're going to get what we call a grey. So it's not black and white grey, like I say, it's what we call either a tonal or a coloured grey. Yeah, so that's just those two colours mixed together with some white. So then if you add some more white to it, obviously you're going to get a lighter grey. So you can mix a whole range of greys. Now you might say, well, what do I need them for, Tina? Well, these greys are really useful in, one, you can use them for underpainting. Two, you can use them for what we call cooling off a colour. So when you come to painting, if you want to put the warm colours in the background, you don't want them to be as vibrant as the foreground, so you can use a little bit grey. So, and you could use white to do that, but sometimes using white to make a colour paler, it becomes too pastel. Yeah, and so if you want to kind of keep with a tonal range, then using your greys is a good way of doing it. Now, the reason this kind of colour wheel comes about is because of like the Impressionist painting outside and Monet's idea of that there's colour in reflection, and colour is kind of comes about from light. You know, reflection from your blue will be orange and vice versa, you know, green will be red. That's how it kind of works. And if you have a look at Monet's paintings of the haystacks, which is done in lots of different colour ways, that'll emphasise why we use it and why I'm using this way of working as well, yeah? And the way I work, the way we're painting now, is what's called direct painting, or opaque painting, some people call it, because it's basically paint from palette to your surface, yeah? So if you think of like Lee Krasner's work, Lee Krasner is very much a direct painter. And then if you look at like Rothko's work, Rothko tends to do more of glazes over the top, so let one colour react to the other one. I'm going to try and get a video to you on that one as well. And so what I'm doing is just a little bit more direct colours on top of each other than that, yeah? So we've done our colour wheel. Like I say, you do it any size you want to do it in terms of sketchbook size or what you think is going to be useful for you. But it's really nice to do, and you could continue doing as much of this as you wanted. So I've mixed greys from me blue and orange. You try it with red and green and purple and yellow, and then you could try it with some of the other opposite ones as well. Yeah, try lots of different colours. Also try mixing a little bit of blue into the orange and vice versa, a little bit of orange into the blue, and try it with all them and see what range you get then. So in a way, you're doing a swatch book for yourself, you know, like lots of different colour ranges and lots of different tones that you can do. And every time we do some colour mixing, every time we do stuff like this, it's references in our head. So when we do start painting, we kind of, oh, I could just put a little bit of orange with that, I could just put a bit of green with that. You know, it's all like learning curve, isn't it, of what we can do with our colours. So let's move on to the greys and why we're using the greys, what they're good for. So just take this off there a sec. Now when I'm making my videos, what I'm tending to do is just do it all in like one shot. So I'm not doing editing, so it's not quite fancy, so you just have to bear with me when I move from one thing to the other, yeah? So how can we use our greys? So like I said before, we can use our greys for underpainting, like a grisaille, or we can use it as a colour mix into what we call grey colours off to cool them down, okay? So let me just show you this. This is a charcoal drawing of a still life that I've done. And then what I've done here is just MDF board that I've primed, and then I've drawn it out. So these blues you see, that's soft pastel, and then I've started to paint it in using my greys. Now the reason we do that is to do like underpainting and to do what we call a tonal range, so we're getting our light and dark in. So if I refer to this when I'm painting, so if I want to put some dark in, I'm just going to pick that out with my greys, yeah? So that's quite dark, and then what I need to do is just keep adding white to it, you know, to make it a bit lighter in places. So what I've done is I've just copied that and just put in the tonal range of where it's light and where it's dark, yeah? So we can leave it like that as a grisaille, you know, if you just want to do it in grey tones, absolutely fine. But the reason we do it, as we do everything, is to try and add a little bit of depth. Like I said, even if you look at some abstract like Rothko, is always trying to add depth to it by the layers, and that's what we're doing here, but a bit more direct. So once I've got my grey tones in there, I'm ready now to think about what colours I want to put on top. Now I've made my greys, these ones, by orange and blue, because I was thinking I might introduce orange and blue onto the top layer, because I'm working from this, so I can use whatever colours I like, so I can use whatever kind of complementaries or any colour ways that I fancy, and that's the reason for doing it. So I'm not going to copy what colour all this was. What I'm going to take from my drawing is the light and dark of it. So this is my grey, quite happy with that, yeah. Maybe needs a little bit more dark underneath there. But anyway, you play about that. So if I decide now to paint this using orange and blue, let's see what's going to happen when I do that. So the reason why we do it this way, so I'm just going to mix more orange. Now, so if I want to put this orange here, hopefully you can see, move it a bit closer to you, hopefully you can see, one, how much the orange stands out, yeah, to it, but two, how the orange changes its tone from just being an orange right onto white background, yeah. It's about just building that depth up. Of, you know, each time, every time we add a layer, we think about how that works with the layer underneath, how we can build it up, why we're putting it there, why we're putting it on top, yeah. So put that orange there. So that's quite a bright orange because it's in the foreground. I want it to come forward, because we know warm colours come forward, cool colours go back. So we know that's why we're putting it in there. Now, if I want to then put some orange here, if I make that the same tone as this one, then there's no sense of distance in there. So what I need to do with that is I need to grey it off a bit, and that's why I'll just get a little bit of the grey and mix it in and do what we call greying it off, cooling it down a wee bit, yeah? Yep, so if we add that grey to it, we're doing what we call cooling it off. So it's not as bright as that colour, because sometimes you do still want to add a little bit of warm colours into you know, other areas of the paint, not just in the foreground, because it's all that reflection as well. But what I can do is I can just grey that off, so it seems like it's further back than this one, yeah. Now you could do it with white again, just to make the orange a little bit paler, but then what that tends to do, if you're using like your grayscale this way, it makes a bit more pastel, and what you want is you just want that subtle change of tone from this orange to that one. Okay, so again, if we want to use our cool colours, in the background. Let me just get straight out the tube blue. So if I want to paint this bit blue, let's have a look. Again, that's straight out the tube blue. It's a cold colour, but it's the same tone as that one, so it's a bit too bright, and so it reduces the idea that there's distance there. So again, let's get a little bit of grey, and let's see if we can grey that down. So again, we're just reducing the intensity of that colour to again make it feel like it's going further back, and we can just keep adding our greys to it and overlaying it so we feel like it's a tonal one and it has that sense of distance to it. Okay, so that's how we use our greys, is to underpaint, also to cool colours off to send them further back. Yeah. Now, that's one way of starting off a painting, using grisaille, using a grayscale as well. But another way we can do it, which I'll just show you now on this figure painting that I've done. Put it up there. So the way I started off this one, you can see, is I used the red background first, painted it all in red, and then started using cold colours to paint the rest of the figure in and bring this figure forward. Yeah, so you can use the idea of warm and cool in lots of different ways. And the underpainting, like we looked at Alice Frank's work, she does a lot of red backgrounds and then paints on top. So you kind of work in a negative way. Instead of painting the red in afterwards, you put the background in and then leave the red to come through. Yeah, and then you use your greys and your cool colours to take that back down. Okay, well, I hope that was of some use, and try them out and see where you get to. It's all about experimenting with it, and it's trying it out, and sometimes you have to be a little bit subtle in just a little bit of colour in here, just a little bit of colour in there, and try not to kind of like mix too much colour into another one, and just think about your cool and your warm colours and how you can use those greys as well to just extend on your palette. Okay, well, thanks very much.